Hi and welcome to another video with the African Dominican. In this video, I sat down with Leah to discuss the process of buying land in the Dominican Republic. I hope you enjoy this interview and find it very helpful. Please don't forget to leave your comments below and let us know what you thought about this interview. Leah, you said this property kind of like just came to you. Yeah. So when you found your land, you say you used your equity from your home in Canada to pay for the land, 65,000 US dollars. Right. How was it like buying land? Was it a headache?
No, not at all. So buying land here, first of all, it is the same where you have an agreement of purchase and sale. In Canada and the United States, usually that contract is written by a real estate agent. Here it's written by a lawyer. Even though you might be using a real estate agent and there is a real estate agent involved, they're not the one that's going to write the contract between you and the seller. So, and usually that, like in Canada and the United States, it's a document where you go back and forth and you negotiate. It's like, here's my offer for your house. And you're like, no. I'll sell you my house for this price. So you literally just scratch out the price and you write a new price and you send it back to me. And I look at it and say, no, I'm not paying that price. Here, all of that is done verbally. So it's when you and I decide on the price and the terms and all of the things that we're going to discuss, then the lawyer will sit down and write out a contract. So one of the things, and I was talking to an American yesterday, unfortunately he has gotten himself caught up in something that could turn out very badly for him because he ended up putting money forward before he had title. So, and I see that happen a lot here. And it's a lot of dishonest real estate agents and sellers and lawyers. Like there's all kinds of people in between that you put a lot of trust into, and you think that they have your best interest and they're trying to help you, and at the end of the day they're not. They're looking out for their own best interest. So one of the things that I did, so the property was 65,000, I put 10,000 down. I knew I was one of the very first properties that started building, and so I knew that this back road was important to me building. So in my agreement, I specified that he could use that $10,000 to build this road. He, at that point, had title to the entire property. What he had to do was then break that one title into 9 separate titles. So as he was selling off the lots, he was registering the title into the person's name. So when I bought the property, he technically, he had the title for the whole thing, but he didn't have just the separate title.
But it wasn't divided up.
Right. But I knew that he had been here for 30 years. So I knew that the biggest problem with getting title here in the Dominican Republic is somebody else laying claim to the property. And it is so, because most property here is family centric. It's been passed down generation after generation after generation. So what happens is, let's say you and your mother and your grandmother have lived on the same piece of property forever, and you decide, okay, my mother and grandmother have now passed and I'm going to move to the United States, I'm going to sell my piece of property, when all of a sudden some cousin who you barely know says, no, our mutual grandfathers used to farm that land together, so I actually have rights to that land. So if you sell that land, then I get paid as well. And that happens very commonly here. So, when you're buying a piece of land here, you need to ask a lot of questions. And usually asking the neighbors is the best place to start, because they'll be the first people to tell you, oh, no. They own the land, that family over there owns the land. So you have to be very careful about, who exactly is the owner and who's going to be getting the title. So for me, that was pretty important that he had the title, and he'd had it for 30 years. So there was no family that was all of a sudden going to show up and say, oh, no. I mean, it was impossible. He'd owned the property for 30 years. He'd already gone through the process. So I still had a builder initially who knew the circumstance, who knew all the people involved, and he was very confident that I would get title, and I was also very confident that title would be no problem. But he started pressuring me to build ahead of time before getting title. And, you know, I mean,
Why would he do that? Because that's very risky. Isn't it risky to
well,
do
it's
that?
only risky for me. It's not risky for
Yeah,
him.
right.
He's going to get paid.
Right.
It means that he's getting paid sooner. That's why he's doing it.
Right.
Right? It means money in his pocket sooner.
Right.
And I just said no. Like, the day I get title is that I would never build on someone else's land.
Right, and then that's a good point. Let me just
even though I was I would literally was 1,000,000% sure that I was going to get title.
Right.
I still would not build on somebody else's land.
Guys, that's a very good point. Make sure before you build on somebody's land, you have a title in your hands, because what if you start building and then it turns out it's issued a title? You're gonna lose all that money and all that time.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I can't even imagine the circumstance.
Right. And then after, okay, what happened after that?
So then the other thing that was built into the contract, so I built in the fact that they had to build the road. And also it said in there that the remaining $55,000 would be paid when I had the title. So I also didn't pay for the property. All I gave was my initial deposit of $10,000. So, and this was the problem that this American gentleman had that I spoke to the other day, is he paid the full amount of the property up front before getting the title.
Okay, let me just pause you there. Guys, this is a very, very important point, okay? When I bought my property as well, I paid everything, because when I signed the contract, said I needed to pay by a certain amount of time, right? But the title was not right, and I wasn't thinking, let me get a title first. But I was trying to honor my words of paying within a year, so I don't start accruing interest. But that was not right, because anything would have gone wrong and they already gotten paid. So that's very smart, Leah.
Yeah.
Don't do what I did.
No.
Good thing I got my title,
Yeah.
but it was very risky.
It is very risky, and there's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so many people that could be part of the process that aren't honest, that are doing something behind your back and you have no idea what's going on, especially if you're not here in this country.
Right.
Especially if you're trying to do all of this from the United States or from Canada. It's very difficult.
And it's better to lose 10% than lose the whole 100%.
Right.
And titles in Dominican Republic take a long time.
Well, and not only that, but, you know, when he said to me, the owner said, you know, this is my history. I have owned it for 30 years. I've had title. I mean, at that point in time, I was just taking his word for it. Because at that point in time, my lawyer had not done a title search. So what I had written in the agreement of purchase of sale was also a clause that said, if for some reason he couldn't get title, he owed me back my deposit times 2.
Nice.
So he would have had to given me back $20,000 if he couldn't have got title.
Good
so
one.
he had to sign that contract knowing in his heart that he was going to get title, because there's no way he would have signed it if he was thinking, oh, I might get title, I might not.
Right.
You know?
That's a good one, Leah.
Well, I tried to, I was a real estate agent for 25 years. I wrote these contracts for a living.
Right.
So I just tried to do everything I possibly could to protect myself. Like
Right.
you said, I'm a single woman here.
Right.
I don't have a family here. I don't have a husband here. I don't have somebody else here to even, you know, sort of throw ideas off of and say, oh, you know, should I do this, or should we do this, or, you know, what about this plan? So, you know, I had to go by my instinct
Right.
and just do what I knew. And I know that there was things that my lawyer had said to me, oh, well, that's not normal. Like, we don't normally put that in a contract. And my answer was always the same. I don't care.
Right. And then just to piggyback on that, in Dominican Republic, please make sure that when you get your draft from the lawyer, make sure you also go through it carefully. If you don't speak Spanish, Google translate the document and read it and make sure everything's in there. Because like for me, my lawyer, when they gave me the contract, I was like, what is this? I literally had to rewrite it.
Yeah. And I did the same thing. Now, when I first started the process, my Spanish wasn't as great. So I didn't really want to rely on Google Translate, so I literally had a translator. Like,
Okay.
I paid a translator, and at the time I think it was 1,000 pesos, $20,
Right.
to translate that. And agreement of purchase and sale here is only 2 or 3 pages.
Right.
It's not a massive document. Hola. That's my builder.
Okay,
¿Todo bien? Sí.
Hola.
Solo aquí por la vez. Muy cerca.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where was I?
So the lawyer. Okay. So making sure translating
Yeah.
document.
But then when I did like subsequent contracts, like when I did the contract with the builder, for instance, when I did the contract for the iron guy, those contracts I just Google translated. But that was only because I had a little more confidence in my own level of Spanish.
Okay.
The other thing too that and I still struggle with today is Dominicans have their own word for almost everything. So, and it's not a Spanish word. So you can't translate. Like I can't translate railings for stairs. That doesn't, the word that it translates to is not the word that they use. So then it now came down to, okay, well, what's the Spanish word? Okay, well, what's the Dominican word? Because so for me, it was learning a whole other set of vocabulary in Spanish, like construction terms and, stuff like that. But again, it was just came down to learning new words.
Wow. And I forgot to ask you, how long did it take you for you to get your title?
It took from start to finish 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was during COVID. Too.
Okay, yeah,
That was
everything
in
was slow.
2020.
What do you think is the average time outside of COVID?
I think in a case like this, it probably could be done slightly quicker. Like I would say probably 3 or 4 months.
Okay, if there are no issues and it's a straight
exactly,
title, 3 to 4 months.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was no issues. And also he was the only person on title.
Right.
Because that's the other thing that could be an issue. His ex-wife could be on title. Well, now, and his ex-wife lives in France. Like, do you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff will start to change timing.
Right.
Of stuff.
So let me ask you about the title. Is it in your name or is it in a commercial company name? Because I know that people decide between the two.
Well, you would decide between the two. So the biggest reason, especially in Las Arenas, people decide between the two is because here in the entire country, the government has designated what they call tax-free zones. So if you are in a tax-free zone and you build, or I guess build, would you have to build it? No, because you can buy it already built, but you have to be the first owner. Okay. So you're the first owner. So it could be built by a builder, but you're the first person that buys it and owns it. Like let's say it's a condo. You then qualify for 10 years being exempt from paying property taxes.
If it's below if it's below 300, is it because the property value has to be below?
No, you're talking something totally
okay. Let's finish that one first then. Okay.
This is what I'm talking about is something that is only in tourist areas.
Okay.
So if you look, you can actually go online and if you just Google tax-free zones, it'll show like a lot of the North Coast, most of Samana has been designated as tax-free zones. So, but it only applies to the first owner of the property. So if I built this property and I designated it, if I sold it a year from now, the next owner would not enjoy that tax-free exemption. Only I would enjoy it as the first owner. But if I buy the property as a company, what I do is I sell my company to the person. I don't sell the house. So now the house is still has the same owner, which is the company. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of a workaround to the tax law. So if you plan on owning a tax-free zone property and you're the very first owner, and you think that you're going to sell it in the next 10 years, then it's a good idea to buy it under a corporate name. Now it is going to cost you $1,000 to register a company name here. And I did have clients do it here.
Right.
And they owned the condo for a year and then they sold it. And because they didn't sell the condo, they sold the company that owned the condo. So technically the condo is still owned by the original owner, which is the company. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So now the second owner has 9 years of tax-free status.
Okay.
Whereas if he had owned it under his own name and he sold it a year later, the second owner would not have. So now when he sells his condo, he has something to sell that his condo has that maybe other condos in the same building don't have. So he has an advantage in the sale of his particular property. So honestly, to me, that's the only reason why you would take a personal property. Now, if you're building an apartment building or like something that's just strictly an investment property, and especially if you have other investors, then obviously your type of ownership is going to be very different.
Right.
But I mean, this is all my property.
Right.
This is me.
Exactly.
I own it all.
Right. Yeah, because I know outside of the tourist area, if you buy property that's under, I guess, $200,000 US, you don't pay tax for buying that property. Is that the same for this one too?
No, that's property taxes.
Okay, you didn't.
So that's annual property taxes.
Right.
So no matter what property you buy here in the country, the day you buy it, you pay land transfer tax.
Right.
So there's no exemption for that.
Okay.
The only way you can reduce that is if you're a resident of
Right.
this country. If you're a non-resident, you pay 3%. If you're a resident, I think it's like 1.2%. So
Okay.
there is a significant savings.
It's very-
But on $65,000, it was a savings of $1,500.
Right.
So it wasn't significant.
Right. So by the property value.
Annual property taxes. So here, and same as in the United States and in Canada, we pay annual property taxes, and it's based on the value of your home.
Right.
So a mill rate gets set for the town, and you multiply that mill rate by the value of your home, and that's how much you have to pay in property
Right.
taxes.
Okay.
The
Is the
thing-
value based on after you build the home, or is that
It
the
could be
time of?
it could be it's you don't so your property is exempt from property taxes with no building on it. Like if it's just a piece of land, you don't have to pay taxes on
Okay.
it. But if you're farming it, you do.
Ah.
There's a farm tax.
Right.
Yeah. Like if it's a income property,
Right.
then you do.
So for those who may want to avoid the tax, just make sure you don't the value of the property is not above $200 to avoid annual income tax.
Yeah, it's $180,000 US dollars is the sort of threshold. So, and it's the value, and it's not the day you buy it; it's that value every year. So, you know,
They do appraisals for value here. How would they know? I mean, I've never seen
the government
Dominicans.
values properties here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you have to understand the value of your property. Now, to me, if you're smart, you would go through the process every single year of having your property evaluated and paying your taxes. Now, a lot of people don't do that, and you don't have to do it because the government here will allow you to pay those taxes the day you sell the house. So the other thing that buyers need to be aware of, and you need to make sure that's written in the contract, is that the seller pays all taxes owing on the house.
Okay.
Because he may have owned that house for 10 years and never ever paid property taxes. He's going to pay it all at the end. But if you don't put something in your agreement that says he has to pay it and you take possession of the house, you now owe those taxes.
Interesting. So before you can get a title, they don't make sure that you pay the taxes before they put the title in your name. No, they can still give a
Well,
title.
the taxes have to be paid.
Before
but
you
it's
get
the
the title.
agreement of purchase and sale that will say who pays the taxes.
Oh, okay. So that could be the holder for the title. Let's say they say no, we're not paying for the taxes, and you say, oh, I'm not paying either. Then the deal can just go south.
Well, no, because
No?
if you've signed an agreement of purchase and sale and you have it written in there that they have to pay the taxes, then
You're responsible.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah. So you I mean, I would just assume here that anything you're buying, taxes have not been paid, because 9 times out of 10 that's the case. And all you do is you simply write a sentence in the contract that says any outstanding taxes owed is paid by the seller.
Right.
End of story.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Unfortunately, I have to end it here and start the next part in the next video. So to watch the rest of the interview, please go to the next video after this one on my channel. And as always, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye. And God bless.